All right, guys, we're back for the main event of this preview, the last preview of this historical Evolution event. And I'm back with my crew, my regulars, Richie and Rossi. Rossi first, what's up?
What's up?
Richie, anything changed since last time?
I went on a journey, spiritual, and it told me that I have to review this match with you guys. So that's why I'm here.
All right, so we have Asuka and Kairi Sane, known as the Kabuki Warriors. We have we have Raquel and Roxanne, Judgment Day. We have Sol and Zols, whatever. What is
Sol Ruka? Sol Ruka. No, I'm sorry. Zaruka.
Zaruka. Yeah. Come on. You think I'm really getting that, especially the last preview of a 2 pay-per-view weekend? Zero fucking chance. And then we have Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. What would their team name be? We need to come up with a team name for them. What would it be? Any ideas off the rip?
The Twisted Queens.
Wow, that was easier than I thought.
I was going to say Flair with some bliss.
Oh,
Blissful Flair, something like that.
Well, Flair on the goal, Flair of that's like 93. I kind of like that. I like them both, honestly. Like I was gonna try to think of something perverted, because that's my lane, right? So, something will come.
Like the submission sorority.
Don't make me say it again. I say it every podcast. It seems like now. So, all right, this is actually an interesting match, and I think it is the best result of a match. You know, if you're in NXT, that's the best team to pick. Zoruka got a rocket to her, and Zaria is a perfect complement. The Kabuki Warriors coming back is fresh, and it could probably lead to even more coming out of Evolution on Monday Night Raw. And then Flair and Bliss, they've been teasing it for about 2 months now, finally culminating here, coming together. Honestly, they might be my favorites. We can do predictions at the end if we would have a title change. But let's talk Bliss and Charlotte. Flair of Bliss, or whatever Richie said, or what'd you say? Or I don't care, whatever.
I don't remember.
A Flair with some bliss.
Flair with some bliss. The fucking hot blondes. That's what I'm calling them. Anyways, I think it's perfect timing for both of them. Alexa can stay away from that Wyatt 6 universe, which is a crumbling stable, in my opinion. Charlotte just need this. The Players Tribune article was beautiful. It's a nice time in her career to reflect, and let's get some grounding on her return. Well, it's still kind of fresh, even though it's been almost a year or 6 months, anyways. And get her grounded with Alexa Bliss. Use of Alexa Bliss's popularity and kind of just find who Charlotte Flair is in 2025. I love the timing. I love the partnership, and they're kind of my favorites. What do you think of them so far, Richie?
I really enjoy their dynamic. I think it's great that Alexa Bliss is grounded for now, because I think a lot of people were wondering if she's going to lead the Wyatt 6, like what she's going to do, like after she got called back last minute for the Rumble. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this team goes. I would like this to be a way to have a different side of Charlotte Flair being shown, whether it is, I had a couple ideas that were running through my head where it was just like you had Alexa do like a Firefly Funhouse kind of deal and show like different iterations of Charlotte, of why she's like the queen. And then like kind of like those like vignettes instead of like an actual match. And I also had an idea, if you want to tie it back to the Wyatt 6, which Ryan, I know you don't want, but like it's this friendship is kind of a ploy for Alexa to make Charlotte the new Lily. Because you see like all like the other wrestlers who are now like the Firefly Funhouse puppets, and like Alexa slowly but surely turning Charlotte into her ideal version of a real life Lily would, I think, be like pretty fun, pretty cool, of Charlotte like either giving into the darkness, getting away from the darkness. So there's a lot of things that you could do with this partnership that can evolve Charlotte Flair, the character, that doesn't revolve around being the world champion. And I think having her in the story with Alexa is a breath of fresh air for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's actually cute. Like, this should not have to be a fictional doll. Could it just be like a figment of it, like a metaphor? Because if like we're planning on making her a doll, that's just gonna lose me. Rossi, what do you think of them two so far?
So, a quick trivia for you guys. When was the first time that Charlotte and Alexa Bliss were on TV together?
The 1985 Ladies Battle Royal.
I think it was, wasn't it Alexa's debut in NXT?
No, I got
So
this, Rossi. I got this. WrestleMania 30.
yes,
Ah,
Triple H's girls with Sasha. I was trying to put a connection between these two, and like that's the one that kept coming back to. I do think it's a really good time for Charlotte to be tied into something with Alexa, because Alexa's one of those that is like always going to be over to some degree, right? And Charlotte needs to curry some favor with the fans. I think this Players Tribune article was a great start to that. And playing like the playful buddy to Alexa is just going to work. And especially like they don't really have a ton of like built-in opponents if they were to win these titles. I mean, they could obviously rematch the Judgment Day. They can feud with Chelsea's crew. There's a lot like that's about it, right? As far as like heel opponents. So I ultimately think it's, like any women's tag run, it's going to have kind of a quick expiration. But, I feel like it's going to work for both of them, and it's going to turn the crowd more in Charlotte's favor than they have been in quite some time.
What I like it too for Charlotte is she can go co-brand with it. She can go mingle on Raw, go mingle on SmackDown. And I think that would do her good, kind of getting her out of her element and her comfort zone of SmackDown, the Queen, My Kingdom, all that bullshit. It would kind of do her well.
NXT too. If they
Yep,
bring
no
them
doubt.
to NXT for a week, it would be fun.
Yeah, speaking of NXT, let's head over there for Zaria and Sol Ruka. I think it'd be really cute. Actually, that would be a great match for like an NXT pay-per-view, right? I think Sol Ruka is clearly the favorite. I think her rise up will be like a feud with Zaria. I don't think that partnership is for the long, really. Zaria has like China vibes to her in a good way, like just her movements and stuff, like her presence. I think she has a big upside. It's just like low key right now. And I like that the build is on Sol Ruka, because Sol Ruka isn't needed to be a Raw or SmackDown girl in the next 2 years. Like she can really harvest herself in NXT, and they're doing a great job of building those roots right now with her. I think the sky's the limit. She's coming off the injury. Her finisher is clunky but unique, right? It's here's the thing. It's memeable. It's definitely
Right.
a thing, right?
It's like it's a cutter. Like people like the cutter. It's like a
Yeah.
really big. Anytime you could like do a variation of the cutter, people are gonna pop. It's not going to be like the super kick or the destroyer where it's like those moves you're not going to get a lot of diversity. So when people see like the diversity of the cutter a little bit, especially when you're doing like a front backflip into it, I think it's going to pop people regardless. So it's like she's showing that she's like more than just like a finisher, and like she's actually like really athletic, and I think that's for her like for her career, especially with her being the North American Women's Champion and also the Speed Champion. It just shows that WWE thinks highly of her in the NXT and like the social media aspects.
Yeah, it's just I'm not down on the finisher. I think it's a very unique finisher and cool. It just takes you out of the moment getting there. That's the only like pushback I have.
Yeah, she's got to improve the timing on it a little bit because it's kind of like too calculated. But I mean, with a move like that, you can't just you hit it kind of out of nowhere, but the opponent's also got to be ready for it.
It's extremely rehearsed, and I don't want to think of rehearsed within wrestling.
It's one of those things, especially with the camera angle. It's going to be tough too, because it's like sometimes you could see like the opponent leaning towards it, whether it's like that kind of cutter or like the Os cutter. Like you could see like people kind of lean into it, where it's like RKO. It's like legitimately, it's like
I was just gonna bring that up.
Gonna be out of like pardon the meme, but out of nowhere, where it's like the person doesn't need to like feed themselves into it, if that makes sense.
And Sol's like that perfect girl to be like in multiple Money in the Banks. She has that athletic ability. She's like a stud level Rumble type performer. And like Zaria, I mean, I like that they've slow played her because they tried to go heavy with her at the beginning, and I think it felt like too much, and she needed to get acclimated to the style a little bit. And she's going to probably come out of this a vicious heel, and that'll be fun. And you know what? I'm really excited to see Sol interact with some of the women in this match. Like her and Charlotte will be fun. Her with, Kabuki Warriors is fun. And it's a good test for these girls to kind of see, if they are really close or if they're kind of still years away,
Yeah, no doubt. Like, does Sol Ruka feel like a WrestleMania performer, right? Well, that's a good test.
Yeah. And I feel like with Zaria, like you mentioned the China vibes, I get a little bit more like Beth Phoenix vibes from her.
Who had the
Yeah,
China vibes. Beth
yeah, who
Phoenix
had
is
the
probably
triple.
a little bit more accurate, where
Yeah,
Zaria is like a little bit more human-y
yeah.
than close, which is closer to Beth than China, right?
Yeah, and the scary thing is, I don't even think we've seen like the potential that Zaria can actually have.
No doubt.
So it's just like it's gonna be really cool to see her interact with all these different women, like who are a combination of established and rising talent, and you still it's like the perfect like description of past, present, and future, all within one like photo of the current women's division. And this is WWE making the best out of a bad situation with Liv's injury, and because who knows what match Liv was going to have at Evolution, because he had the tease with Nikki Bella, and then Liv was also the tag champ. So we could have went from
This could have been
just
the plan all along, if you think about it, right?
yeah,
Lending the belt to Roxanne in this spot, right?
yeah. So it's just like just one of those things where like whatever the story was, they're making the best out of the situation. Does that excuse like the story? No, not really. There's some like loopholes here like that weren't tied up. Like I know we talked about it, like Zaria and Sol losing the week before and then just announced in the tag team match
Well,
was a
that's
little
just
clunky,
two shows in a way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, so it's like there's not much to work with. The
No
build
doubt.
could have been cleaner, but with Roxanne, she lost, but that led to the way of the Kabuki Warriors returning and reuniting together. So I think there's a lot of potential of mini stories between the teams themselves than just everyone facing each other.
Yeah. All right, there was a mini story last night on Monday Night Raw. I'm not sure we needed a 2-segment match between Roxanne Perez and Kairi Sane to get us to the Kabuki Warriors reuniting for the final team in this 4-way match at Evolution, but we had a clunky 2-segment match. Rossi, this is just a straight question to you. What's up with Kairi Sane? I've never really been I don't want to say fan. I see her upside, but now that there's more girls on this roster at higher levels, she is blatant to me. I could see her appeal, but her appeal is 2017, not 2025.
She has her moments. Like I think she did really well in that 3-way with Rhea when Zoe got hurt, but it was Rhea, right? It's easy. Like the way that Kyrie works, she's great as the underdog. And she is clunky at times against, smaller wrestlers. She's got the look. She's got the cool like entrance to a degree, but she just doesn't get reactions, right? And that's kind of always been the main roster issue, wherein like someone like Asuka does, right? And I feel like they're going to build Julia up in a way that she will start to as well. And like not to typecast the three of them, but you kind of have to. And then like Io is kind of like a tier above them all at this point. So I understand why they brought Kyrie back, especially in the Triple H world, because he kind of has a lot of equity with her in particular when he was booking NXT. And he definitely sees where her like ceiling is. But unfortunately, I think from a WWE perspective, she hit that ceiling in NXT. And again, matches with Shayna when she was the clear underdog is when she did it. So she struggles to kind of be the one that, the match is built around as much as like, a singles match with Roxanne is always going to be off, right? And that's no knock on Roxanne. I think it would be off with someone like Alexa too. The Kabuki Warriors, obviously, they got hodgepodge into this in a way.
There's big appeal, though. They were a pretty big.
It was a big reaction with Asuka. They were a big tag team. But when you look at this match, like, obviously they've got the connection to Judgment Day, but take the other three teams out, right? Like, naturally looking at it, you've got Raquel and Zaria, who are the two powerhouses. You've got Sol and Charlotte, who are the two freak athletes. And you got Roxanne and Alexa, like the smaller girls that, have their appeal, right? Then there's the Kabuki Warriors, who can kind of mix and match with all of them, but they definitely feel like pigeonholed in here to a degree. And it makes me wonder if they were always supposed to be part of this. You would probably think they would be, but it's just like the way that we talk so much about how the build up to everything that they've done has been like 2-week show, 2-week show, 2-week show. And there's parts of the match, like this will be a fun match once the bell rings, but you're watching it put together and you're like, all right, how did we get to this point, right? You almost feel like there's going to be more fun one-on-one type, 2-on-2 matches with these teams going forward, as opposed to, them just kind of all being on this show,
Yeah. Richie, do you think there was more of a singles run in Asuka before doing this And can they get back to that, or throwing her in a tag right away just kind of kills that? What do you think?
I think there's strong possibility in Asuka getting a singles, especially if Io wins her match, because they did tease Asuka and Io having a future confrontation where Asuka was, the finalist and Queen of the Ring, and Io said, "Oh, we could have fought like we always talked about, well, in Damage Control," and Asuka said, "Well, we're not in Damage Control," and then she walked off. So I don't think that was just there for a reason. I think we are going to get that Io Sky Asuka match down the line. And I think a PLE would be the place to do so. And plus, you have the story of Io Sky picking Rhea over picking Asuka. Io said she wanted to face the best, and here one week you say, "Oh, it's going to be cool to face my friend," but you pick Rhea instead. So if that costs Io Sky, or if Asuka feels slighted, she gets pinned and then she turns on Kairi, let's say, and you kind of go on from there, because there's still a lot left in the tank of Asuka as a singles, but for a tag for now, I think it's a good way to get Asuka and Kairi on a prominent position on the show.
Regardless, in the then and now, them being in this match opposed to Natty and Maxine just makes the match better. There's a lot, star power wise and mechanically.
Do you think there's a lane when there's an Io Asuka match on a 2-night SummerSlam, even if Io's not the champ?
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, because with WWE, they experimented with Jade and Naomi being a rivalry without having a championship or anything on the line. So it wouldn't be out of the question for Io and Asuka to be
received well, I think, Richie.
Yeah, especially because it's in MetLife. So I think and usually that Jersey, New York area is full the smart fans, and I feel like that's gonna be one of the matches that people would look forward to.
Yeah, it's a good call. All right, and then we got the Judgment Day, 5'2" Roxanne and 6'2" Raquel. I can't get past the height difference when I look at them, but I think optically they work well together and they look well together. She's a good replacement for Liv in the here and the now. I think I like the Judgment Day having 5 pieces of gold as soon as Liv leaves. I think that's it's funny. I like that it's playing into Finn's idea, and the video that they did yesterday with the clink in the videos was pretty cool. If they didn't have all 5 belts, I would suspect them to lose, but they can lose and regain it afterwards if they want to have a moment. I'm not sure if there's going to be any other title matches with challengers winning. IC, I don't think. Probably Rhea. Io is probably 60-40. Rhea wins. Tiffany's retaining. So if they want to have a moment here with a title change at Evolution, perhaps this match could be sacrificed to go to Charlotte or Bliss, right? Or maybe the Kabuki Warriors, even though I kind of doubt it. But I don't know, I suspect them to retain. Am I right, Richie?
That's where I was leaning towards, because again, if any wrestling tropes that I follow, it's what happens on the Go Home show, and Roxanne got pinned by Kairi. So it's all right, they're losing. They lost on Monday. They usually will stand tall at the pay-per-view. Doesn't always happen, but that's usually the train of thought. And with them being so fresh as tag partners in this story of Raquel and Roxanne trying to get along, it only makes sense for them to retain with this story that they're trying to do with Raquel doesn't really like Roxanne, but she's kind of coaxed into it because she doesn't want to lose her championship. That's where the drama happens. And if they lose that championship, then that drama kind of dissipates.
Yeah, I'm with that. I just feel that. I feel that.
My thing with Roxanne
needed for the show to have them lose. What, Rossi?
Roxanne needs to win something eventually, right? But
it works that she was giving it to her, though. It works.
It works that it was given to her, and she's her only 2 matches she's won. She's gotten called up, whereas a Money in the Bank qualifier and the King of the Ring qualifier, right? And the King of the Ring or Queen of the Ring, she lost the next round, which was okay. It was somebody. It was who I don't remember who it was, but it made sense. I think it was Jade. But I don't know. They're very jobberish, these two, right? And they have the titles. Liv was kind of the main roster attraction of the two, and I just from a kayfabe perspective, what value has Roxanne Perez brought to the Judgment Day? You know what I mean? Obviously, I get why she's there, and she's kind of for somebody that just came up from NXT, she is kind of bulletproof. But like, why would Roxanne ever really believe in her, right? And that is where I kind of think maybe she's gotta, pin somebody, pin an Alexa, pin a Kyrie, pin an Asuka, do something to kind of, really put her stamp on these tag titles and make them kind of make more sense moving forward,
And I could see a finish where it's just kind of like Raquel hits like the Tejana bomb on like, let's say Kyrie or something, but she's not the legal woman. So Roxanne kind of sneaks away, gets the pin, still like building up that story. And like the story is going to be interesting depending on when Liv comes back, because
I like to see her evolution just for a pop in, right? Maybe.
Potentially, we're still kind of fresh off that injury. I think it's been 3-4 weeks since it happened.
Month, maybe, 3 to 4 weeks.
So it's like I'm not sure if travel. Again, I'm not a doctor, so it could very well happen. But yeah, it's one of those things where each team has a story with each other going in, whether positive or negative. So it's like I'm really curious to see how each and everybody works well together in that regard. But also, if it's going to be like one of those odd tag team matches we've been seeing recently, it's like, if it's a 4-way tag match, then 4 people are in at the same time. Or if it's going to be one of those where only 2 people start.
Yeah. Just call it Texas Tornado. Have 8 run around. Who cares, right? I think I assume the 4, but is the 2 bet? I don't know. They're kind of clunky. I don't know, actually, Richie. Couldn't tell you. I'm more of a Battle Royal aficionado than a 4-way girls. First, they should call this the ladies tag, like in 1985. But anyways.
You're fucking all over that 1985 match, man.
It's incredible. Well, I think we should live watch it.
I gotta check it out
again. Like Spider Lady's performance is incredible. But
that's the real fight forever.
It really is.
Who's playing Spider Lady today?
I don't know. My heart just wants Bliss and Charlotte to win, and I kind of, even though I think it makes sense for the Judgment Day to win, I just feel that the moment it might be needed, and I just want the moment. I'm just being selfish, to be honest.
And there's ways that you can kind of continue them their budding friendship, even if they lose. Mm-hmm. Like it could be, I don't know how. Like Charlotte takes the loss, or they're not involved in the loss, and something like that, right?
They go on the chase longer, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I also feel like Charlotte, the idea of this is really Alexa kind of rebuilding Charlotte, right? So there's ways to do that even without, like, they could have like fun vignettes with that, right? But there's things that they can do without the titles. And Roxanne and Raquel, there's more to them holding the titles because of eventual Liv return. The Kabuki Warriors are still there. It just seems like there's Roxanne, there's Maxine and Natty that's budding, right? There's things that they can end up going down that path with that kind of just make more sense. And if they come back to the Judgment Day without the titles on a weekend where the other two aren't even defending them, it is kind of weird. So, when we started doing this, I was all in on Charlotte and Alexa, but after we've talked about it for 23 minutes, I can kind of definitely see the retention at this point.
All right, we need to go home. 23 minutes. I'm going with my heart. I'm going with Blissful Queens. I don't know. You guys going Judgment Day?
I'm going Judgment Day.
I think you talked me into Judgment Day.
Yeah. All right, guys. So there it is. There's your Evolution preview. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.